South America, a continent teeming with life. Rainforests hum with insects, mountains pierce the sky, and deserts stretch, vast and silent. This land of extremes emerged from a fiery, chaotic past, shaped by forces deep within the earth. To understand South America, we must first understand the forces that shaped it. Imagine the Earth's crust as a jigsaw puzzle of massive plates, constantly shifting and grinding. These tectonic plates float on the Earth's semi-molten mantle, driven by deep currents of heat. South America's story is inextricably linked to the movement of these plates. The Andes Mountains are a dramatic example of plate tectonics at work. Millions of years ago, the Nazca Plate began to slide beneath the South American plate. This subduction caused immense pressure, buckling and rising the land into towering peaks. The Andes, still evolving today, impact South America's climate and ecology. They trap moisture, creating the Amazon rainforest, and cast a rain shadow, giving rise to the Atacama Desert. The Amazon River tells a story of erosion, deposition, and the relentless carving of water. Born in the Andes, the Amazon snakes eastward, creating a unique ecosystem teeming with life. The Andes provide the water that sustains the Amazon, influencing global climate patterns. Together, they illustrate the interplay of forces shaping South America. South America's formation is a story told over unimaginable stretches of time. Imagine compressing Earth's history into a single calendar year. Dinosaurs appear in mid-December, and humans in the last few minutes of December 31st. This perspective allows us to appreciate the vastness of geological time and the forces shaping our planet. The Guiana Highlands, far older than the Andes, whisper tales of Earth's youth. Formed billions of years ago, these highlands are a testament to ancient geological change. Erosion exposed their resistant rock, creating imposing plateaus and lush rainforests. The Guiana Highlands are a treasure trove of biodiversity harboring vibrant life. The Patagonian Plateau, a land of stark beauty, was sculpted by wind and ice. Tectonic forces uplifted the land while glaciers carved valleys and wind-shaped rock formations. This extreme landscape tests the limits of life, yet guanacos and condors thrive here. The Patagonian Plateau showcases the power of erosion over millennia. The Atacama Desert, one of the driest places on Earth, is a product of geology and climate. The Andes create a rain shadow, while the Humboldt Current inhibits rainfall. Despite its harsh conditions, specialized plants and animals thrive in the Atacama. This desert is a testament to the interplay of geological and climatic forces. The Pampas, a vast grassland, is shaped by water and wind. Rivers from the Andes deposited sediment, creating fertile plains. Winds carried silt, forming loess, a soil supporting diverse grasses. The Pampas, shaped by geological processes and human activity, is South America's breadbasket. The Pantanal, the world's largest tropical wetland, is shaped by seasonal flooding. The Paraguay River's annual floods create a unique and biodiverse ecosystem. Floodwaters replenish soil, driving the rhythms of plant and animal life. The Pantanal showcases water as a source of life and biodiversity. South America's landscapes bear witness to the power of geological forces over time. These forces have shaped the continent's physical form, climate, and ecosystems. Understanding these forces is essential for managing resources and mitigating natural hazards. South America's story, etched in stone and water, continues to unfold. The the first humans set foot in South America during the last ice age. These pioneers likely crossed from Asia via the Bering Land Bridge. Their journey led them across continents, eventually reaching South America. Their arrival marked the beginning of human interaction with the continent's diverse landscapes. Section 2. Adapting to Extremes: Life on the Edge. The first South Americans faced a continent of stark contrasts: towering mountains, arid deserts, lush rainforests, windswept plains. Each region presented its own set of challenges, demanding ingenuity and adaptability from its new inhabitants. Those who survived and thrived did so by learning to live in harmony with their surroundings, developing unique ways of life tailored to the opportunities and constraints of their environments. In the Andes, for example, early settlers faced the challenges of high altitude, thin air, and steep terrain. They developed strategies for cultivating crops like potatoes and quinoa, which could withstand the harsh conditions. They domesticated llamas and alpacas, sure-footed animals adapted to the mountains for transportation and wool. On the arid Pacific coast, where rainfall was scarce, people turned to the sea for sustenance. They became skilled fishermen, harvesting the bounty of the Pacific Ocean. They also developed techniques for irrigating crops, using canals and terraces to channel precious water to their fields. In the Amazon rainforest, the challenge was not lack of water, but rather its abundance. Early Amazonians learned to navigate the intricate network of rivers and streams, using dugout canoes for transportation and fishing. They mastered the art of cultivating crops in the rainforest, developing techniques for managing soil fertility and dealing with pests. Across the continent, these early inhabitants developed a deep understanding of their environments. They learned which plants were edible, which animals could be hunted, and how to predict the changing seasons. Their knowledge, passed down through generations, formed the foundation for the diverse indigenous cultures that would flourish in South America for millennia. The Amazon rainforest, often described as the lungs of the planet, played a pivotal role in shaping the cultures of early South America. Its vast expanse, teeming with life, nurtured complex societies that thrived for centuries before the arrival of Europeans. Far from being an uninhabited wilderness, the Amazon was a cradle of culture, its rivers serving as highways connecting distant communities. Imagine villages nestled along the banks of winding rivers, their inhabitants skilled in the arts of fishing, hunting, and agriculture. Picture intricately crafted canoes gliding through the water, laden with goods for trade. Envision shamans, their bodies adorned with feathers and paint, performing rituals to appease the spirits of the forest. These Amazonian societies, though diverse in their languages and customs, shared a deep connection to the natural world. They believed in the interconnectedness of all living things, respecting the delicate balance of the rainforest ecosystem. Their lives were governed by the rhythms of the seasons, the ebb and flow of the rivers, and the cycles of the forest. They developed sophisticated agricultural practices, cultivating crops like manioc, maize, and beans in the challenging rainforest environment. They mastered the art of agroforestry, integrating crops with forest trees to mimic the natural ecosystem and enhance soil fertility. Their knowledge of medicinal plants, honed over generations of observation and experimentation, was vast and intricate. While the Amazon nurtured cultures attuned to the rhythms of the rainforest, the Andes Mountains presented a very different set of challenges and opportunities. Here, amidst towering peaks and high-altitude plateaus, civilizations rose to prominence, their achievements etched in stone and woven into textiles. The Inca Empire, the largest empire in pre-Columbian America, stands as a testament to the ingenuity and resilience of Andean cultures. From their capital at Cusco, the Inca ruled a vast territory that stretched along the spine of the Andes, from present-day Colombia to Chile. Their success stemmed in part from their mastery of agriculture in a challenging environment. They constructed elaborate terrace systems on the steep slopes of the Andes, transforming mountainsides into fertile fields. They developed sophisticated irrigation systems, channeling water from melting glaciers and mountain streams to their crops. But the Inca were more than just skilled farmers. They were builders, engineers, and astronomers, their achievements reflected in the ruins they left behind. Machu Picchu, the iconic lost city of the Incas, perched precariously on a mountain ridge, stands as a testament to their architectural prowess. Their road system, spanning thousands of miles and traversing treacherous mountain passes, connected the far reaches of their empire. Their textiles, woven from the wool of llamas and alpacas, were renowned for their beauty and intricate designs, reflecting their cultural sophistication. Along the Pacific coast of South America, from the arid deserts of northern Chile to the fertile valleys of Peru, a different kind of civilization emerged, one intimately connected to the sea. These coastal cultures, shaped by the bounty and the fury of the Pacific Ocean, developed unique traditions and technologies for harnessing the resources of their marine environment. The Moche people, who flourished in present-day Peru between the 1st and 8th centuries AD, were master fishermen and seafarers. They built reed boats, known as cabalitos de totora, which allowed them to navigate the waves and harvest the rich marine life of the Pacific. Their pottery, adorned with intricate scenes of daily life, depicts fishermen hauling in nets laden with fish, hunters pursuing sea lions, and merchants trading goods along the coast. Their goldwork, crafted into elaborate ornaments and ceremonial objects, reflects their mastery of metallurgy and their fascination with the creatures of the sea. Further south, the Chinchorro people of coastal Chile developed a unique tradition of mummification, preserving their dead with remarkable care and artistry. Their mummies, some dating back over 7,000 years, are among the oldest in the world, predating even the Egyptians. These coastal cultures, though diverse in their customs and beliefs, shared a deep connection to the sea. They relied on its bounty for sustenance, revered its power, and incorporated its rhythms into their art, their rituals, and their very way of life. Section 6. Before Columbus. A continent on the cusp. By the time Christopher Columbus stumbled upon the Americas in 1492, South America was a tapestry of diverse cultures, each shaped by its unique environment and history. From the Amazon rainforest to the Andes Mountains, from the arid Pacific coast to the windswept Patagonian plains, indigenous peoples had thrived for millennia, developing complex societies, sophisticated technologies, and rich cultural traditions. The arrival of Europeans, however, would irrevocably alter the course of South American history. It would usher in an era of conquest, colonization, and cultural exchange, forever changing the continent and its people. In the chapters that follow, we will explore this tumultuous period, tracing the rise and fall of empires, the struggles for independence, and the emergence of the modern South American nations we know today. But as we delve into this complex history, it is important to remember the legacy of those who came before, the indigenous peoples who first called this continent home. Their resilience, their ingenuity, and their deep connection to the land continue to shape South America to this day. A reminder that the past is never truly gone, but rather woven into the very fabric of the present. Section 1. Empires of Gold, the Inca and the arrival of the Spanish. Imagine the Inca Empire at its zenith. Stretching along the spine of the Andes, this powerful civilization commanded vast territories, its wealth legendary, its cities marvels of engineering, but their world, meticulously ordered, was about to be shaken to its core. On the distant horizon, across an ocean unknown to the Inca, a new force was gathering, Spanish conquistadors, driven by gold, glory, and God. The year 1532 marked a turning point. Francisco Pizarro, a Spanish adventurer hardened by years of conquest in the Americas, landed on the shores of what is now Peru. The Inca, unaware of the threat these newcomers posed, received them with cautious curiosity. They had heard whispers of bearded men with strange weapons, but nothing could prepare them for what was to come. Pizarro, cunning and ruthless, exploited internal divisions within the Inca Empire, turning rival factions against each other. He captured Atahualpa, the Inca emperor, and held him hostage, demanding a room filled with gold as ransom. The Inca, desperate to save their leader, complied, but their treasures, once symbols of their power, would seal their fate. Pizarro, true to his word, took the gold, but he broke his promise, executing Atahualpa and plunging the Inca Empire into chaos. The Spanish, though vastly outnumbered, possessed superior weaponry, steel swords, cannons, and horses, which terrified the Inca, who had never seen such creatures. The fall of the Inca Empire was swift and brutal. Spanish conquistadors, aided by indigenous allies eager to overthrow Inca rule, marched through the Andes, conquering cities and plundering their treasures. The Inca, their empire shattered, retreated into the mountains, their resistance crushed by a force they could not comprehend. Section 2: A continent divided. The Treaty of Tordesillas and its legacy. While the Spanish were busy conquering the Inca, another European power was eyeing South America, Portugal. The year 1494 saw the signing of the Treaty of Tordesillas, an agreement between Spain and Portugal, blessed by the Pope, to divide the newly discovered lands between them. An imaginary line drawn down the Atlantic, cutting through what is now Brazil, determined their spheres of influence. This treaty, though seemingly a simple matter of cartography, would have profound consequences for the future of South America. It granted Spain dominion over most of the continent, setting the stage for the creation of vast Spanish colonies from the Caribbean coast to the southern tip of South America. Portugal, though initially disappointed with its share, soon realized the potential of its claim. Brazil, initially seen as a land of little value compared to the gold-rich empires of the Andes, would become a jewel in the Portuguese crown, its vast rainforests yielding valuable timber, and later its fertile lands producing sugar, coffee, and other cash crops. The Treaty of Tordesillas effectively divided South America into two linguistic and cultural spheres. Spanish, the language of conquest, became dominant in most of the continent, while Portuguese took root in Brazil. This division, etched into the very fabric of South America, would shape its history for centuries to come. But the treaty did more than just divide the continent between two European powers. It ignored the claims of the millions of indigenous people who already called South America home. Their lands, their cultures, their very existence were relegated to the margins of history, their voices silenced by the roar of conquest. Centuries passed. Spanish and Portuguese colonies in South America prospered, their wealth flowing back to Europe. But beneath the surface of colonial rule, resentment simmered. The indigenous population, subjected to forced labor and cultural oppression, yearned for freedom. Creoles, people of European descent born in the Americas, chafed under the restrictions imposed by their European overlords. The late 18th and early 19th centuries witnessed a wave of revolutions that swept across the Americas, inspired by the ideals of the Enlightenment and fueled by the desire for self-determination. In North America, the 13 colonies had thrown off British rule. Now the winds of change were blowing south. Simón Bolívar, a Venezuelan military and political leader, emerged as a key figure in the fight for South American independence. Inspired by the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity, Bolívar envisioned a continent free from European rule, a land where Creoles and indigenous peoples could live together in harmony. From 1810 to 1825, a period known as the Wars of Independence, South America became a battleground. Bolívar, hailed as the liberator, led armies across the Andes, defeating Spanish forces in a series of daring campaigns. His military genius, combined with his charisma and unwavering belief in the cause of independence, rallied people from all walks of life to his banner. One by one, Spanish colonies declared independence: Argentina in 1816, Chile in 1818, Gran Colombia, comprising present-day Colombia, Venezuela, Panama, and Ecuador, in 1819, Peru in 1821, and Bolivia, named in honor of Bolívar himself, in 1825. By the mid-19th century, the map of South America had been redrawn, the shackles of colonialism broken. Bolívar's vision extended beyond simply liberating South America from Spanish rule. He dreamed of a united continent, a federation of republics modeled after the United States, strong enough to resist European interference and ensure lasting peace and prosperity. His dream found its embodiment in Gran Colombia, a vast republic encompassing much of northern South America. This union, however, proved fragile. Regional rivalries, political differences, and the sheer logistical challenges of governing such a vast and diverse territory took their toll. Bolivar's dream of a unified South America began to unravel. In 1828, Venezuela seceded from Gran Colombia, followed by Ecuador in 1830. By 1831, Gran Colombia had ceased to exist, its disintegration a bitter blow to Bolivar, who had dedicated his life to the cause of South American unity. Bolivar, disillusioned and in failing health, died later that year, his dream of a united continent unfulfilled. Despite its short lifespan, Gran Colombia left an indelible mark on South America. It inspired generations of leaders and intellectuals, its legacy living on in the continued pursuit of regional integration and cooperation. The breakup of Gran Colombia highlighted the challenges of forging a common identity among the newly independent nations of South America. Each nation, shaped by its own unique history, geography, and cultural heritage, embarked on its own path, navigating the turbulent waters of independence and nation building. In the southern cone, the region encompassing present-day Argentina, Chile, and Uruguay, the process of nation building unfolded amidst internal struggles and external pressures. Vast distances, rugged terrain, and a history of conflict between central authorities and regional power brokers shaped the political landscape. Argentina, after declaring independence from Spain, faced the challenge of consolidating its control over a vast territory. The Pampas, the fertile grasslands that stretched across central Argentina, became a battleground between the central government in Buenos Aires and powerful provincial caudillos, or strongmen. Chile, with its long, narrow coastline and formidable Andes Mountains, developed a more centralized government. Its economy, driven by mining and agriculture, attracted European immigrants, particularly from Britain and Germany, who played a significant role in shaping Chilean society. Uruguay, sandwiched between its larger neighbors, Argentina and Brazil, struggled to maintain its independence. Its strategic location at the mouth of the Rio de la Plata made it a prize coveted by both regional powers, leading to decades of conflict and instability. Despite these challenges, the nations of the Southern Cone gradually consolidated their independence, establishing their own institutions, developing their economies, and forging their own national identities. The process, however, was often fraught with conflict, both internal and external, as these young nations sought to define their place in the world. On the northeastern shoulder of South America, the Guianas stand apart, a region where the legacy of European colonialism is most evident in the persistence of three small nations, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. Guyana, formerly British Guiana, gained independence from Britain in 1966. Its population, a mix of descendants of African slaves, Indian indentured laborers, and indigenous peoples, reflects its colonial past. Its economy, based on agriculture, mining, and forestry, has struggled to overcome the legacy of colonial exploitation. Suriname, formerly Dutch Guiana, achieved independence from the Netherlands in 1975. Its population is even more diverse than Guyana's, with significant Javanese, Chinese, and Lebanese communities adding to the mix of African, Indian, and indigenous peoples. Its economy, largely dependent on bauxite mining, faces challenges of diversification and sustainable development. French Guiana, unlike its neighbors, remains an overseas department of France, its residents French citizens. Its population, a mix of Creoles, Amerindians, and immigrants from other French territories, enjoys a higher standard of living than in Guyana or Suriname, but at the cost of its political independence. The Guianas, though geographically part of South America, are often overlooked, their small size and colonial history overshadowing their unique cultural tapestry and their potential for growth and development. As the 21st century unfolds, these nations face the challenge of forging their own paths, balancing their colonial legacies with their aspirations for self-determination and a brighter future. The dawn of the 19th century saw South America erupt in a wave of revolutions. From the Andes to the Atlantic, Spanish and Portuguese colonies fought for and won their independence. But liberty, hard won on the battlefields, proved a double-edged sword. The newly forged nations faced the daunting task of nation building. Centuries of European rule left deep social and economic inequalities. A small elite controlled power and wealth, while the majority remained marginalized. These disparities hindered democratic development and fueled unrest. Political instability plagued the newly independent nations. Constitutions proved difficult to implement in societies accustomed to authoritarian rule. Coups, revolutions, and civil wars disrupted progress. The struggle to define national identities complicated nation building. South America, with its vast diversity, lacked a unifying sense of purpose. Regional rivalries often trumped national unity. The dream of a united South America, championed by Simon Bolivar, remained elusive. The challenges were immense, but so too was the potential. South America possessed all the ingredients for success, but realizing this potential required overcoming the legacy of colonialism. In the aftermath of independence, the Caudillo emerged on the South American political landscape. Charismatic military leaders capitalized on political vacuums, promising order and stability. With weak institutions, personal power and patronage networks determined outcomes. Caudillos commanded private armies, secured alliances, and intimidated opponents. Some were reformers, investing in infrastructure and education. Others ruled through fear, enriching themselves at the nation's expense. The Caudillo era left a mixed legacy. Nation building and modernization often came at the expense of democracy. The cult of personality and political violence hindered stable governance. South America, blessed with an abundance of natural resources, from silver and gold to rubber and coffee, found itself thrust onto the world stage as a supplier of raw materials to fuel the industrializing economies of Europe and North America. This export-oriented model, while initially generating wealth for a select few, left South American economies vulnerable to the whims of global commodity prices, leading to cycles of boom and bust that hindered sustained development. The 19th century witnessed a surge in demand for South American exports. British factories needed cotton from Brazil, copper from Chile, and guano, bird droppings used as fertilizer from Peru. This influx of foreign capital, however, often benefited a small elite, exacerbating existing inequalities and creating a distorted economic structure heavily reliant on a few primary commodities. When global demand for these commodities declined, whether due to economic downturns, the emergence of synthetic substitutes, or shifts in consumer preferences, South American economies suffered. Governments, heavily dependent on export revenues, faced budget shortfalls, leading to austerity measures, social unrest, and political instability. Chile's nitrate boom and bust in the late 19th and early 20th centuries exemplifies the perils of resource dependency. Nitrate, a key ingredient in explosives and fertilizers, brought Chile immense wealth, but when synthetic nitrates were developed, demand plummeted, plunging the country into economic crisis. The cycle of booms and busts had a profound impact on South American societies. It created a volatile economic environment, discouraged diversification into manufacturing and other industries, and reinforced existing power structures as the elite who controlled resource extraction maintained their grip on wealth and influence. Breaking free from this cycle of dependency would require diversifying economies, investing in education and technology, and promoting more equitable distribution of wealth. Section 4. Immigration Waves Reshaping Societies and Cultures. The 19th and early 20th centuries witnessed massive waves of immigration to South America, transforming the continent's demographic landscape and adding new layers to its already rich cultural tapestry. Millions of Europeans, fleeing poverty, persecution, and war, sought new beginnings in the Americas, drawn by the promise of land, opportunity, and a better life for themselves and their children. Argentina, with its vast fertile plains and a government eager to populate its sparsely inhabited interior, became a magnet for European immigrants, particularly Italians and Spaniards. These newcomers, many of whom had agricultural backgrounds, helped transform Argentina into an agricultural powerhouse, supplying wheat, beef, and other products to global markets. Brazil also attracted large numbers of European immigrants, especially Portuguese, Italians, and Spaniards, who settled in the southern and southeastern states, contributing to the growth of coffee plantations, industry, and urban centers. Japanese immigrants arriving in the early 20th century established themselves as successful farmers and entrepreneurs, particularly in Sao Paulo state. The influx of Europeans had a profound impact on South American societies. It introduced new languages, customs, and traditions, enriching the cultural mosaic, but also occasionally leading to social tensions between newcomers and established populations. Europeans, often favored by governments seeking to whiten their populations, enjoyed greater economic opportunities and social mobility, often at the expense of indigenous peoples and Afro-descendants. Immigration, while contributing to economic growth and cultural diversity, also highlighted the challenges of integrating newcomers and building inclusive societies. The legacy of immigration, with its successes and its struggles, continues to shape South American demographics, culture, and politics to this day. Section 5. The Shadow of the North, U.S. Influence and Interventions. As the United States emerged as a global power, its influence over Latin America grew, shaping the region's development. The Monroe Doctrine declared the Americas closed to European colonization, justifying U.S. intervention. The Panama Canal, completed in 1914, cemented U.S. influence in the region. U.S. interventions took various forms, from military occupations to economic sanctions. These actions often destabilized countries and fueled anti-American sentiment. The legacy of U.S. interventionism continues to cast a long shadow over U.S.-South American relations. Section 6. The Quest for Social Justice, Land Reform, and Indigenous Rights. Despite profound transformations, deep social and economic inequalities persisted in South America. Indigenous peoples, Afro-descendants, and the rural poor faced discrimination and poverty. The quest for social justice became a defining struggle. Land reform emerged as a key demand. A small elite owned vast tracts of land, while the majority remained landless. Peasant organizations and leftist parties called for land redistribution. The struggle for indigenous rights gained momentum. Indigenous peoples mobilized to demand recognition and control over their lands. They asserted their right to preserve their languages and traditions. The quest for social justice was met with fierce resistance from the ruling elite. Governments responded with repression to maintain the status quo. Despite challenges, the struggle for social justice has made significant strides. Land reform programs have redistributed land to some peasant communities. Indigenous peoples have won greater recognition of their rights, including constitutional protections. Section 7. The Rise of Democracy, Overcoming Dictatorships and Inequality. The latter half of the 20th century saw military dictatorships in South America, leading to political repression and economic mismanagement. From these dictatorships, a new era of democracy emerged as citizens demanded freedom and social justice. Military regimes, often backed by the US, justified their power to combat communism. Their rule was marked by brutality and human rights abuses. Opposition was silenced through censorship and torture. Economic policies benefited a small elite, worsening inequality. The gap between rich and poor widened. By the 1980s, dictatorships crumbled due to economic mismanagement and resistance. Inspired by global events, citizens demanded democracy. The transition was tumultuous, marked by protests and negotiations. Military leaders sought to protect their interests. Despite challenges, democracy took root. Free elections and human rights were restored. New democracies offered hope for a just future. Section 8. South America today, a continent of promise and potential. South America today stands at a crossroads, a continent of immense promise and potential. Democracy has taken hold but remains fragile, tested by corruption and inequality. Economic growth is uneven, leaving millions in poverty. The 21st century brings new challenges and opportunities. Climate change poses a significant threat. Globalization creates new markets but also job losses and inequality. Despite challenges, South America has many strengths. Its vast natural resources provide a solid foundation for growth. Its young population, if educated, could fuel innovation. Its rich cultural heritage is a source of creativity and identity. South America is a continent in flux, searching for its place in a changing world. The past shapes the present, but it is also a continent of hope. The path forward requires addressing inequality and promoting sustainable development. If South America can harness its strengths, it can become a beacon of hope. Section 1. The legacy of resilience, enduring strength in diversity. South America's journey through time is a testament to resilience. From its fiery geological birth through epochs of dramatic transformation, the continent has constantly reshaped itself. This capacity for adaptation, for evolving in the face of upheaval, is mirrored in the human story etched across its landscapes. Indigenous peoples navigated the challenges of diverse ecosystems, adapting to the extremes of mountains, rainforests, deserts, and plains. They built civilizations, honed traditions, and cultivated a deep connection to the land, a bond that endures to this day. The arrival of Europeans, while ushering in an era of conquest and colonialism, couldn't extinguish this inherent resilience. Indigenous populations resisted, adapted, and ultimately endured, their cultures evolving, their voices refusing to be silenced. This spirit of resilience extended to the descendants of African slaves brought forcibly to the continent. They too forged new identities, blending their ancestral heritage with the realities of their new home, contributing to the rich tapestry of South American culture. This legacy of resilience, of overcoming adversity and emerging stronger, is etched into the DNA of South America. It's visible in the vibrant street life of its cities, where indigenous traditions blend with modern influences. It's evident in the determination of rural communities to preserve their way of life in the face of globalization, and it's palpable in the passionate embrace of music, dance, and art, expressions of joy that transcend hardship. This resilience is not merely a historical artifact. It's a living force, propelling South America forward. It's the driving force behind movements for social justice, for environmental protection, for a more equitable and sustainable future. It's a reminder that the human spirit, when tested, has an extraordinary capacity to adapt, to innovate, and to ultimately triumph over adversity. South America is a vibrant tapestry woven from countless cultural threads. Indigenous heritage, European colonialism, African traditions, and global immigration create astonishing diversity. Ancient traditions coexist with modern influences, blending languages and music. This fusion shapes South America's identity. For centuries, South America was on the periphery, its resources extracted by colonial powers. But the 21st century has seen a shift. The rise of the global South challenges Western dominance. South America, with its resources and growing economies, is now more assertive. It seeks closer ties with emerging markets and a greater voice internationally. As its power grows, so does its responsibility to address global challenges. Despite its progress and potential, South America faces a daunting array of challenges in the 21st century. The legacies of colonialism, inequality, and political instability continue to cast a long shadow, hindering development and threatening to unravel the social fabric. Addressing these deep-seated problems will require sustained commitment to social justice, good governance, and sustainable development. Income inequality, one of the most pressing challenges, fuels social unrest, undermines democratic institutions, and hampers economic growth. While some countries have made strides in reducing poverty and expanding access to education and healthcare, the gap between rich and poor remains vast. Bridging this divide will require progressive taxation, investment in social safety nets, and a renewed focus on creating economic opportunities for all. Corruption, endemic in many South American countries, erodes public trust, discourages investment, and perpetuates a culture of impunity. Strengthening the rule of law, promoting transparency and accountability, and empowering civil society to hold leaders accountable are essential for combating corruption and fostering good governance. Climate change poses an existential threat to the region, with the potential to disrupt agricultural production, exacerbate water scarcity, and trigger extreme weather events. Protecting the Amazon rainforest, a vital carbon sink and a treasure trove of biodiversity, is crucial, not just for South America, but for the entire planet. Investing in renewable energy, Promoting sustainable agriculture and adapting to the impacts of climate change are essential for ensuring a livable future. Navigating these challenges will require vision, courage, and a willingness to break with the patterns of the past. It will require leaders who prioritize the needs of the many over the privileges of the few, who embrace dialogue and consensus building, and who are committed to building a more just, equitable, and sustainable future. Despite the challenges, a spirit of hopefulness permeates South America. It's a hope rooted in the continent's remarkable resilience, its vibrant cultures, and its enduring belief in the possibility of positive change. From the Andes Mountains to the Amazon rainforest, people are working to create a better future. Social movements are mobilizing for change, demanding social justice and environmental protection. Young people are raising their voices, harnessing technology to advocate for change. Artists, writers, and musicians are giving voice to hopes and aspirations, blending tradition and innovation. South America's journey is one of transformation, embracing the potential for positive change.